alongside Dr. Kelvin Daly.
Panic and fear, uncertainty that is compounded by a leadership that appears unprepared, uncertain, and indecisive in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic.
And to the weeks.
Until God gets a hold of our Premier's life and transform him, he will go from bad to worse.
We are tired of playing politics. We need to see policies that will change the life of people, especially those of us in the diaspora.
Tell me.
Carlisle, I want all women in this rally for change.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m., you can be a part of this conversation by calling 669-7312. That's 869-669-7312. Also available on WhatsApp or from the diaspora 917-460-2187.
Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. with host Carlisle Powell on 2020 Vision Radio and Facebook.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
This 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM program is being simulcast weekly on the Caribbean Broadcast Network, heard on CBN Superstation 90.9 FM, Go Loud Digicel app, covering the entire U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and CBN TV on Flow Channel 101 and on CCT TV Channel 291. We do appreciate our U.S. and British Virgin Island listeners and viewers joining us for these informative and entertaining programs on 2020 Vision Radio and 102.1 FM.
Let us put our hands together for Papa Wheeler!
Chutney and lavandira, ID necessary, boy. Peace, God, lips are mercenary. Bringing it to show for me. I wanted to raw, boy, raw for me. Maintain your impulso, total zombie and beater. Take it away. Global fans decreasing. Why? I did numbers, they keep dropping. No, but they don't shout no more.
Good night, Papa Wheeler. We're going to ask you to just stop it just a little bit so that we can get into Tell Me Tonight. And we're going to be here next week as well. The guys, I didn't tell them that, but we normally give them off Holy Thursday. And that's it. Only Holy Thursday. So this week coming up is not Holy Thursday. It's during the carnival period, but we are going to be here still. Let me say good night to Tulu. Tulu, how are you doing?
Oh, good night, good evening. I'm excellent, I'm blessed, I'm highly favored. And it's good to be back after missing 2 episodes.
And how is mommy?
Mommy is there, no better than the past 2-3 weeks. But she's in high spirit, and she's surrounded by her children, grandchildren, and great-grand who are showering her with love and affection and tenderness. We're trying our best to make her as comfortable as possible.
Okay, and I hope somebody put on the radio tonight so she can hear Tell Me.
Well, I believe so.
Okay, good. Dr. Daly, how are you? You ain't got on your carnival face yet.
You ain't carnival yet?
Oh, no, they're having shows.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I've never been to one.
That's not good.
And it's worse now I'm old. So if I went when I'm young, I certainly ain't going when I'm old. I'm hearing a feedback, an echo. Check those gains on the sliders. You might have to pull them back a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Just a little bit. I think that was Tulu's mic.
Yeah, he's a number 4, but we have 2 number 4s open tonight.
Okay.
Times like these, you need a technician in the studio.
We manage. Let me say good evening to our party leader who is here, the lovely Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge with us. I think perhaps she probably thought this was your last show, so she.
No, we're going again.
Okay.
I thought it was the last.
Well, let me say good evening to her. And
Thank you. Good evening to you.
Welcome to Alan. Good to have you in studio with us. And of course, my family, my brother Denny and his wife are here on vacation, and he has been working me to the bone. I tell you, I have cuts and bruises on my hands.
To prove.
And because we are working to get our fishing boat in order, and so we're trying to get it launched by the end of this month. And so we've been working non-stop, 24 hours with lights, everything. It just happened to be here this evening. That's why I had to bus off and leave them. But my brother Gus and my brother Denny, they've been working non-stop to get this boat operationalized and safe.
Hugh not helping?
Oh, no, Hugh is not helping. But I said good evening to my family, brother Hugh and Evis abroad, my sisters Evan and Judith in Connecticut, my brother Carl down in Atlanta, my brother Steve in California, my other brother Hugh in St. Croix. Good evening to every one of you. And let me say one other thing. Let me say greetings to Ira Willett Sr., who listens to On Target as well as on Tell Me every Thursday and Saturday. I missed the greeting last week. Ira Senior, not junior kind of, they're young fellas, but Ira Senior, good to have you on board.
And I'm going to say good evening to all of my mother Mario's children, as I usually do. Mary, hope that you're good, you and John and Jonette. And to Mervet up there in New York, come down to St. Thomas where Glenda is, and then across to Tortola where I find my brother Everett and his lovely wife Heather, and then here to Nevis where Trevor and his wife and daughters are. So good evening to you. Hope that you're doing well. This evening we have the party leader who is clocked in with us for half an hour. And then we're going to be looking at the budget. Party leader, that don't mean you can't come at next week since you figured that this was the last. If you want to be on the last one, you can come next week as well.
Next week Christmas will be over.
It will be over, but you
Yes.
can give advance New Year greetings.
No. I'm here for Christmas, so allow me to give my Christmas greetings. and
Definitely.
to say good evening to all who are listening. I can't be the odd one out. I have to say good evening to my mother's children as well. My sisters Susie and Ingrid up in the Virginia area. My sister Claire, not my mother's child, but my sister as well, over there in England. And of course, my brothers are here. And feeling quite elated. My younger son, Cadell, most people in Nevis know Cadell. I have two sons, but the older one is not as familiar in Nevis as the younger one. And I we were going to wait, but every day he talks to me about it, and I say, I just have to say it because I'm so excited as well, because notwithstanding COVID and notwithstanding Hurricane Irma, he was able to complete his studies for his bachelor's degree, and so he would have completed his coursework this December. The ceremony is not going to be until May. UVI only has the May ceremony, and so I am quite excited that he would have achieved that milestone. And my nephew, Tyler, he's up in the DC area. He graduated December as well. So quite a nice time, I would say, for our family, looking at the young ones coming up and, really understanding the importance of education and what it means. I would be the first one to say that, the academics is not for everybody. There are those who are very skilled in their creative industries. There are those who very skilled in sports, etc. But for those who, take that path, we want to say congratulations and happy to them, all the best to them. So, as I said, I'm here for the Christmas season and my Christmas greetings. I would not go at length right now. I'll wait for my next turn, come around. But very happy to be here this evening. And I hope that by the time I'm ready to leave, because I do have to go back to the fountain Christmas tree lighting. I was there before I came here, and I left to come here. I hope that by the time I'm getting ready to leave, everybody would be just thinking about Christmas and all the nice things associated with Christmas.
Absolutely. Let's look at the birthday list. On the 22nd of December, Denny's Ward up there in the US will be celebrating. On the 23rd, we have Sharon Hobson, Shaquila Davis, and Ariel Griffin. And on the 24th, a friend of mine down in Tortola, Favor, one time she had sent us a whole ton of food stuff which we distributed. So still remember her birthday is on the 24th. And on Christmas Day, my lovely niece Tanika will be celebrating, and my cousin Tyrone Hendrickson will be celebrating as well. So those are who I have on the birthday list, but I know you have a few, Tulu.
Yes, on the 23rd, my brother Ivan will be celebrating. And then on the 24th, my sister Evelyn will be celebrating. And so congratulations to both of you. Enjoy it to the max when it gets here.
Great. And now we have to do the birthday song. Tulu.
No, you can't sing the birthday song. You're the chairman of NRP, and the deputy chairman of NRP has a birthday coming up.
Well, I don't have it in my system. That's the problem. So we have to add it. So Mr. Hector, we're saying happy birthday to you as well. What's the date?
Actually, I think Roberto,
Roberto was yesterday.
Yeah. So.
You see, don't have those in my system. So Stephen is when?
I think the 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
Roberto. Belated birthday. Happy birthday.
Belated and advance. So both of those. So I hope we sing better.
And Shaquila Pemberton. You said Shaquila Davis, but I know her Shaquila Pemberton.
Same person.
Okay, the same person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too many big long names.
Let's go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
And as usual from us in the studio, may you live to be 101, and us 101 minus a day, so we don't have to see you go. May God continue to bless you with good health, strength, of course, wealth.
We didn't get the greetings from Alan, so we'll cross over to Alan, this young man on my left. I know him quite well.
I would think so.
I will be brief.
Pull the mic a little tighter to you, though, Alan.
Okay. That you help me. You got me clear? Yes, I will be brief. You know, I know Janice's time is important, and you know everybody want to hear from her now. So I will get in when we get to the budget. But good night to everybody, and I would suppose I could say the panel this evening, and good night to everybody who is out there listening. Especially those in Europe. It's already tomorrow, you know. So good night to everybody, and I hope we have a, you know, impactful discussion, informative discussion.
Thank you very much, and we're not going to waste any time, leader. We're coming straight to you.
Well, thank you. And while I'm here to, you know, extend my season's greetings, etc., I must take a moment to extend my heartfelt, you know, wishes and condolences to the family of Julie Liebert. I think all of us would have been at the funeral, quite a large funeral. And it's amazing how much you learn at funerals. And, you know, sitting there and looking across at some of the family members, you can see the emotions, the raw emotion, and you can see that it really was a sad time. But what really stood out to me was that she was somebody that was really loved, just from, you know, all that I was seeing and hearing. And so I take this moment to say, you know, my condolences, and I do hope that they can get over the grief. It doesn't seem that they're going to get over it in a very short period of time, but indeed it was, I would say, probably one of the largest funerals that I've been to, and in recent times, and not just that, but one that was filled with emotion. I was at the fountain Christmas tree lighting before I came here, but earlier today I would have attended the funeral of Stedroy Sturge. Passed away, unfortunately. He was someone that I knew from since he was going to primary school. He was playing, he was on the football team, and my children were on the same football team, and so I got to know Steady really well, to the extent that when I go to Barnesgate, he would call me mommy. And I was really, shaken up when I heard of his passing in such a tragic way. And again, a large funeral today. Not only was he a football player, but he was also involved in the the masquerades and the arts and that sort of thing. So again, my condolences to the family. And I heard of an incident today. I was not able to verify, so I would leave that alone. But to the Libers family and the Sturge family, you do have my heartfelt condolences and sympathies, and I do wish you all the best in the years to come. And so the Christmas season is upon us, and there were lots of Christmas tree lighting ceremonies going on. And it's interesting, I was in Fountain last night at a Christmas tree lighting, but they call it Ghana. So it's not quite Fountain. And then I was back there tonight at the Fountain Christmas tree lighting. And so I took the opportunity to say to the people of Fountain how fortunate they are, especially the children, that they can have such a loving and caring community, that they would ensure that the children would enjoy the season. And I did do my best to ensure that I could impart to them, what Christmas really should be about, a time of giving, a time for sharing. And while we do consider it to be important, I guess later on when you guys get into the heavy stuff, which I think is a bit heavy for this time, but anyway, we would know those persons who believe in sharing and giving at Christmas time, and those who feel that they should not give and maybe take more from you than they give to you. And so the Bible tells us that God loves a cheerful giver, and I don't think the Bible said if you're not a cheerful giver whether he loves you or not still, but we know, we have seen the disparity, the great disparity between the Nevis budget and the St. Kitts budget, and we have an idea of who is into giving and sharing and helping people to feel good at Christmas time, and who really could not care less how your Christmas turns out. But notwithstanding all of that, I would just want to say, we in the NRP, we understand the importance of Christmas. It's a big part of community building and getting, communities involved. And it was interesting to me. Newcastle is not having a Christmas tree lighting this year. It was brought to my attention, and when I inquired as to why Newcastle is not having a Christmas tree lighting, I really did not get a substantive answer. Because notwithstanding that I am the representative for St. James's, we would have had Christmas tree lighting in Butlers, in Brickhill, in Camps. I was at one at Fountain tonight, and I really was not called upon to execute or to be in charge of a Christmas tree lighting, because of course the Department of Community Affairs and Social Services, they're the ones who usually organize and get the community mobilized. But for some reason it seems that maybe because I live in Newcastle, that there was no effort to have a Christmas tree lighting there. But I have given my commitment to the persons in Newcastle, and I'm saying it here tonight, that I cannot take on the responsibility to have a Christmas tree lighting or to be responsible for Christmas tree lighting in a short period of time, considering all of the different things that are happening. But I have given my commitment that notwithstanding, next Christmas the people of Newcastle would have the best Christmas tree lighting, the best Christmas tree program that they have seen. I don't know why Newcastle was singled out, but that is the case. But notwithstanding, I have provided the opportunity for the persons in Newcastle, well, not myself, but our party, to engage in our gift-giving event. And we have identified a location here right in Charlestown, next to the Jamaican Bakery, where the NRP caretakers, supporters, constituency members would be on Saturday night, and we would be involved in gift giving, presenting gifts to the children of our constituencies. Basically, we're looking at the primary school children. They're the ones who really get excited about Christmas and are really looking forward to the gifts that they would receive. So I'm encouraging, all of the children between now and Saturday night, you would see your NRP representatives in the communities, making sure that you receive your card, because you would need to have your card, and in the case of St. James's, your Your scratch card would have my picture on it, and so when you come to the location, once you present that card, then I would be more than happy to present you with a gift, and hopefully I can see lots of smiles and lots of happy faces, because that's what Christmas is all about for the children. And so if you're from the St. John's area, you would receive a scratch card from Dr. Bartlett, and likewise in number 1, J.D. Keynes and Rohan Isles. So all of us would be there right next to the new Jamaican bakery, and we would be happy to give the children a good feeling of Christmas. I can remember when I was younger, and I said younger, not young. When I was younger, and we had Christmas coming around and Christmas Eve night, such a great feeling, such excitement. And I'm really happy that the NRP has, taken the necessary steps to ensure that our children can have a similar experience. Some of the older folks as well, we will be providing the scratch cards, and as Dr. Bartley would have said, we try to be as fair and as equal as we can, so that once you get your scratch card, whatever you scratch, that will be your gift. Then you can come there on Saturday evening as well to collect it. Now, Dr. Bartlett has a very large constituency, and so she's going to be at the location right next to the new Jamaican bakery from 11 a.m. until 9 p.m. And she's hoping that all of her constituents who she will be able to reach out to would be able to come there with their cards and present it and get their gifts. I think she has a few extra. I do as well. So if we just happen to miss you between now and Saturday to give you a card, you can come there, and once we still have some cards, because the gifts are associated with the cards, and so once we still have some gifts and you can get a card, you can still enjoy that good Christmas feeling that I am convinced only NRP can bring to Nevis at this point in time. And so look out for us, your representatives. We will be out and about and getting ready to make sure that when you come to the venue next to the new Jamaican bakery on the waterfront, you will be able to receive your gifts. And so I really do hope that everyone can get their heart's desire for this Christmas season. I know I mentioned the 2 funerals, but I know that there are some persons who would have lost some loved ones during the year, and there may be that empty seat at the Christmas table, but I like to say that God is in control and God knows best. And so even though we may wonder and question, once we do have faith and believe in God, then I think we would get through the season okay. So to all those who would have lost their loved ones and who would have a empty chair at the table, know that I'm thinking of you, and I will try my best to see how we can ensure that you enjoy your Christmas season, notwithstanding your loss. And so I think if we take the approach that we do unto others as we would have them do unto us, I think that is important. I think it's necessary for us to recognize that we could have been in a sad situation. Some people in a sad situation, some are in a joy situation, but we must try our best to do whatever we can to help others. And someone sent me a quote today, and I said they must have known I was going to be on the radio tonight talking about doing good unto others, etc. But I said I'm going to repeat it because it struck a chord with me, and I think it would with others as well. And this is as we speak about Nevis, the Christmas season, what we're hoping for. This is a quote that someone said to me. We are not all in the same boat. We are in the same storm. Some have yachts, some have canoes, and some are drowning. Just be kind and help who you can. So we're all going through whatever we are going through here on Nevis. And while we may have different ways and different means of dealing with our situations, always remember, if we can help someone, let us do that. And I think if we look at life that way, we can be in a much better place. I just want to give a little rundown of some of the things that we would be looking at. On Saturday 23rd, as I mentioned, we will be having our gift giving right here in Charlestown, the NRP. Just look for the NRP flag, and once you have one of those cards, come right in and you'll be able to get your gift. And like I said, what is going to do it for me is going to be all those happy faces that we would be able to see, because I know some parents, it's not that they don't want to, make this Christmas a happy one for their children, but they're really not in a position to do so. I'm listening and I'm hearing about questions whether or not Nevis is going to get 8% increase or a 5% increase. And, the question is, why should there be such lack of transparency? Why can't the information be forthcoming so that people can understand? And whether we like it or not, this uncertainty is not a good thing. And when we can have so many questions after you listen to the NIA budget and then you listen to the budget of the federal government, as much as there is talk about the collaboration and people working together, I would want to do my best. Because, if parents are unhappy and uncertain, and the children are unhappy and uncertain, Nevis is not going to be a nice place to be. So we are going to try our best. We are not in government, and so we cannot set the record straight, and we cannot say definitively what the outcome is going to be. But we can say for sure to the parents out there, we're going to do our best to make sure that your children do have a good Christmas. Now, on Saturday, also, in the morning, those of you who know me know that I do have, a love for the ocean and have been drawn to the fishes, mostly because I feel that they really have been overlooked and marginalized and really have not had a voice. And so each year, I think it's for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, the Saturday before Christmas, we organize an appreciation for our fishers over at Newcastle Bay. And so early in the morning, there would be a cleanup, because we feel our beach, our bay should look nice when Christmas comes. And so while the fishers are out getting the fish, there would be a crew on land cleaning up the beach. There would be a crew getting all of the food and the eats and the drinks ready, so that once the fishers come in and they sell their fish, they can have a nice Christmas lunch right there at Newcastle Bay. So that is going to be taking place Saturday morning, and I'm really looking forward to that. I know there are times when I hear some of the folks on land complaining that they're doing all the cleanup and the fishers are not doing that. And I just have to say, would you wake up at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock to go out in the ocean to catch the fish? And if you won't do that, well, let the fishers do that, because they want to do that. And let us who are on land and not going out to catch the fish, let us take care of the land part of it. And I think that's important, because oftentimes we get a bit confused and we feel that everybody should do what we think they should do. I think we need to have some understanding that this world is made up of people with many different skills, many different interests, but together we create such a better world. And so over a period of time, people will get to understand. The fishers have to go out in the ocean and fish, let them fish. They don't like to clean up, don't be upset with them. They're people who love to clean up. And so we get those people to help with the cleanup. and everybody has a role to play. And it doesn't just relate to the fishers, it relates to life overall, and it relates to everything that we do. When everybody can find their space and how they can contribute best, that is what we're supposed to embrace, and not try to get people to do things because we feel that that is the way it is supposed to be. Allow people to contribute in the way that they're most comfortable doing that. And so we would have our luncheon. It's a brunch actually, because the fishers, as much as we're doing it in appreciation of them, by the time they come in and they sell their fish, they want to have their eats and their drinks, and then they go home to do what else they have to do. So it's pretty much, a bunch. And it would be nice if, this can spread out to all of the fishing, fish landing areas, and appreciate the fishers, because they do make a lot of sacrifices. And so we start at Newcastle Bay, but ultimately we want to see something like this spread throughout. The Saturday night, the 23rd, like I said, we would be at the location. Dr. Bartlett would be there for her St. John's constituents from 11 in the morning until 9 in the evening. And rightly so, because like I said, she had such a large constituency. But the other candidates, we would be there around 5, 6 up until 9, 10, around that time. So St. John's, whether you're going to come all the way from Coal Hill, come all the way down, Dr. Bartlett will be there early to accommodate you. The rest of us will come in a bit later. Definitely St. James constituency, you can expect to see me there. After I've done the fishermen, I'll be there from about 5 o'clock. And then the last thing that I would say that is happening in the true spirit of Christmas, I'm pleased to see that there has been a community initiative to organize a football tournament. And the championship game is going to be held on Sunday. That's actually Christmas Eve. Kickoff is going to be at 2 p.m. And I think the championship game is going to be between Bath United and Cotton Ground. Don't have the name of the team, but I know Cotton Ground, Bath, Brown Hill, and there's a team that has a name without an indication of where they're from. But there are 4 teams that are going to be vying for the championship game. It's a lucky 7 format. So someone explained to me that it's instead of having like a test cricket match where you have to sit there and look at the match for all this time, it's a 7-a-side format. So it's a faster, the field is smaller, so there should be a lot of excitement. And I'm really happy to see that at the community level these kind of initiatives are being put forward. It highlights the football players, brings the community together, and so that is going to be held at the Cotton Ground Field Sunday, December 24th, starting at 2 p.m. And so I would want to encourage persons to come out when we see these sorts of initiatives, to encourage the organizers so that they can really get the traction that they would want to have. There is one last thing that I would want to say. Now this is the Christmas season. I said it at the top. Let us remember and let us go through this season understanding that it's about love and sharing and kindness. And notwithstanding that there are lots of factors, there are lots of issues that we really have no control over, I think if we create that mindset and reflect on what Christmas is really about and the sacrifices and what we can do to have that Christ-like feeling during this time, I think that would really go a long way in helping us to overcome some of the sadness, overcome some of the sorrows, and appreciate our fellow men, our fellow ladies a lot more than we are now. And so that is my reason for being here tonight. All of you gentlemen, I thank you for allowing me a few minutes so that I can say very Merry Christmas, especially to my constituents in St. James's, but to all of Nevis, to our country, and to all who are listening and whoever would be celebrating Christmas. I do hope that you will have a most joyous and blessed Christmas, and I do hope that the new year would bring all that you would hope for. Certainly, as leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, we're looking forward to the changes and the type of initiatives that would be necessary to make sure that we can bring back to the people of Nevis the type of peace, progress, and prosperity that we know can exist, especially at Christmas time, but throughout the year as well. With that, gentlemen, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas as well, and please you, I will seek my departure this time.
Thank you very much. Nice having you. Travel safely back up to the Christmas tree lighting ceremony.
Thank you so
give
much.
our regards to the people up there. Hope that they're listening with one ear. Have a good night.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to Tell Me. We are going to be with you until at least 10 o'clock this evening. And we have a full slate. We didn't look at the budget at all. And so tonight we're going to be taking a look at the budget. But before we do that, I think that my friend Charles needed space for himself. And so I didn't put in his greeting when we did the greetings and the birthday wishes for everybody else. And so I am now going to say to the parents of Charlotte, you know Charlotte, the president of the Women's Arm? Well, her parents are celebrating their 38th wedding anniversary. It's a lot of years. I didn't realize it's such a long time ago.
That's too much.
I was at that wedding, and I like to remind people that is the first man I've ever seen leave the altar, go down to the door, take away his bride-to-be, and walk her up the aisle himself. My good friend Charles. And it looked like he was serious, because 38 years later, Jeanette still has his attention. So good evening to you, Charles and Jeanette.
Congratulations.
Happy 38th.
Congratulations.
Keep going, keep going.
Before you get into the budget, Carlisle.
And let me say, Yulin Rollins is celebrating as well on the 22nd.
Yulin Rollins?
Yeah, up there in Government Road. You know Yulin.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, she's celebrating a birthday on the 22nd.
Wow, birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said anniversary.
Her birthday is an anniversary too.
He caught me by a bit surprise. Let me read something in the record before we get into the budget. What I have here, gentlemen, is the gazetted amendments to the Integrity in Public Life. I got it just this evening. And anybody is free to go to the legal department and get a copy. It's now law. Okay, this legislation was passed, the amended version was passed on November 21st, 2023. And I want to read to you the substantive portion of it that everybody's interested in hearing. But there are two parts, but let me read to you what the new ordinance speaks to now. amendment of Section 3, paragraph C. If there is no leader of the opposition, then the Deputy Governor General may appoint a member on the advice of the member or members of the opposition, provided that there is no member of the opposition or the members of the opposition cannot agree on a nominee. Then a member will be appointed on the advice of the Premier after consultation with the members of the opposition, if any. You guys get that? Let me read it again. If there is no leader of the opposition, we have no leader right now. Okay? If there is no leader of the opposition, then the Deputy Governor General may appoint a member on the advice of the member or members of the opposition, provided that where there is no member of the opposition or members of the opposition cannot agree on a nominee, then that person, of course, will be picked by the Premier on the advice of the Deputy Governor General. All right? This is what we were waiting for, gentlemen. This is the amendment that you heard the chairman of the Integrity in Public Life, Mr. Keynes, who, by the way, was appointed by the Deputy Governor General. And we heard him in that symposium they had on Sinkits a few weeks ago, criticize to no end the amendments made to the existing legislation. And recall also that this amendment, these amendments include reducing the term of service from 5 years to 3 years. It's all here. So now this has been gazetted. I will call tonight, as I've done before, on the chairman and the other member, Mr. Newton, to resign. This is untenable. This is unconscionable. And I believe the words that Mr. Kane spoke at the conference they had on St. Kitts with all the members of both Integrity and Public Life Commissions, that you are watering down an already weak piece of legislation. Even further, he described it as stupid. And I would hope that since now this is in evidence, that Mr. Keynes would do the right thing and walk away from this. You cannot sit as a chairman of our Integrity in Public Life when you have now described the changes as being stupid, as being unconscionable, as weakening. It is. So, Mr. Keynes, I would beg you, sir, for the Christmas season, do the right thing and walk away from this nonsense.
You want to hear his words again? I
would love to hear his words again.
Tell me, well, Mr. DPP, thanks for the encouragement. On Nevis, our Integrity Commission has been up and running since about 2018. We have been collecting declarations. Within the first 2 years, things were going smoothly, but we have now seen that persons have decided from the very top, ministers, permanent secretaries, assistant PSs, the whole gambit has decided that they no longer wish to file. We write to them, I guess they get the letters or the notices, and what they do with them I don't know. And unfortunately, the Nevis Island Assembly decided, I think maybe it was last month, they decided in their own wisdom last month to go in to Parliament and to further weaken the legislation by now saying that once you swear a declaration, the Commission is supposed to accept the declaration as truth, and then to add further insult to injury, they have now put in what we call the conjunctive clauses, where you file, the Commission will look at your declaration, and in order for us to then take certain course of action, there are almost 3 limbs that we must satisfy ourselves that the declarant has not satisfied in order for us to then, go further. And which is really, in the scheme of things, it's just stupid. And for an assembly with politicians whom we elect, who are supposedly, doctorates and the whole gambit, to look and say we want to fight against corruption, and at the same time you go in and weaken the legislation even further by tying the Commission's hands, it's just beyond the pale. However, we are there for another 2 years, hopefully, as under our third appointment of the third commissioner, because on Nevis, unfortunately, we have the situation where there is no leader of the opposition, and so because there's no leader of the opposition and the way the legislation is worded, a commissioner has to be appointed after consultation with the leader of the opposition. So the Assembly, again, through the parliamentarians, decided in their wisdom to make a clause, well, to amend and to say that the Premier, whoever he or she may be, will have that power to appoint the third person. We felt, as a commission, we got an opinion on it, and we felt that if anything, that power should really lie in the hands of the Deputy Governor General, after consultation with members on the opposition bench, and also maybe with consultation with the Premier, but that power should really lie in that person, ultimately. Since the Premier already has can appoint one person, the Deputy Governor General can appoint one person, and if there's that lacuna, you can, fix it that way. But also, you also fix the other pieces of legislation that requires the leader of the opposition to make appointments, not just to our commission, but to other agencies within this on the island of Nevis. However, they did not see fit to take the recommendation that was put forward to them, and they decided to do something else. We are still awaiting the amendment that was passed. I'm not sure if it has been gazetted as yet, so we will try to find out that and see where that goes. But unfortunately, instead of us going forward in a better way on Nevis, we are unfortunately going backwards, because the federal legislation did not call for supporting documents. When the amendment was done, it was included. And on the other hand, on Nevis, we are saying, well, if you want to submit, you submit. If you don't want, you don't. So how is a commission to investigate? I mean, you get declarations, and on the face of it, you look and you're saying, well, okay, this declaration is good. So, I mean, it just makes nonsense of the law. But we will try our best to do what we have to do, and we will definitely be knocking on the door of the DPPs. I'm glad you have this stuff already prepared, the forms, and so we will definitely be seeing the charges. So we'll be seeing you very shortly.
Strong language, Dr. Daly. It has been gazetted, and so is law.
It's law. And there haven't been any changes since they was voted in the Assembly. It's the exact copy.
But you can't change it.
Can't change.
That's why you voted in the Assembly.
Exactly.
And trust me, Mark Brantley knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to be able to pick everybody to go on the commission.
And he might get his wish. And that's the sad thing about it. Because it says if the members opposite, and there are two members opposite, if they cannot agree on a person, then the Premier has taken the right to do that for them. This thing about where there is no member of the opposition or the members of the opposition cannot agree. No, here it is. There is what process do you go through to agree or disagree? Is it a one-time conversation? So me and you have a conversation about cricket. You're the expert. I defer to you. You want to talk to me about agriculture? You defer to me. At what point do you say, okay, we've had enough discussions? We are now at an impasse. At what length, at what time do you say we've had enough discussions? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 4 meetings? Is there a commission set up to adjudicate between the 2 members of the opposition? What is the process to get to that point to say, you guys, I can't go anymore? It doesn't say this. It doesn't say this. So who decides when enough is enough?
The Premier.
Exactly.
That is how he wants it.
Exactly.
Anyway, I'm just going to make one comment before we move on and start looking at the budget. Because you want to jump in? Go right ahead, Alan.
I wanted to ask Dr. Daly a question.
Sure.
Stay tight to your mic.
If the Premier's intention is to replace the people and the Integrity in Public Life Commission, why would you expedite that? Because in my estimation, it seems like, as you said, the people who are there now, they would like to proceed. I heard Mr. Keynes talking about persons having been filing since 2020, and he promised he will be seeing the DPP shortly.
Mhm.
We already had a case recently. I don't know if you read about that.
Yes, I did.
But I think that we know actually Mr. Keynes put himself in a position where he has to deal with some sort of action going forward. So I don't think that the right thing might be to expedite his leaving. Neither him nor Mr.
No,
Newman at this point.
the point is this. You are the chairman of Integrity in Public Life. And as chairman, you take on a certain responsibility of ethics that you cannot just brush aside and say, well, I'm here for 2 years. I'm going to try and get it fixed. Sometimes you do have to make a stand and say, listen, no, this is too much. This is a bridge too much to pass. That is what I would have done. If you bring a piece of legislation that diminishes my role as a chairman or my role as a member of the commission, I will resign in protest. I will not continue that conversation under some pretext that I can fix it. Because there's no fixing this. This is beyond the fixing point. You have weakened this legislation. It's in law. You don't have to present any documentation to prove what you're saying in your declaration is true. You've cut down my years of service from 5 to 3 in a deliberate attempt to replace me if things don't go the way you want to do it. And now you're saying to me that the Premier may end up naming the third person. So what are you trying to say? Is that there is no point to it. There's no point to this legislation. And I can't sit as a chairman of a commission with my hands tied behind my back and pretend it's okay. I can't. Some people can and try to fix it some other way. I personally think that Mr. Keynes should resign. I personally think that Mr. Newton should resign as matters of protest against this intrusion into one of the what I call sacrosanct pieces of legislation to keep our politicians in check.
I'm in agreement with you. Based on the description.
Just take a pin. Somebody is asking me if there's a party nearby. It seems to me like every now and again, on a Thursday night in particular, somebody comes downstairs out in the parking lot with all the loud music and turn up everything full so that they can interfere with the Tell Me program. So if you're out there listening and you're on the road, just drive around and tell whoever it is down there with the vehicle with all the doors open and the back open and making a set of noise, just tell them to go someplace else with the noise. Go ahead, Tulu.
Based on the description of this amendment by the chairman of the commission, stupid, watered down, weakened, backwards. I could not see myself sitting on a commission operating under these guidelines. Because what am I going to go forward with? If the legislation that you give me is taking me backward, if it weakens my hand, if it is stupid, what am I going? What I wanted to hear from the gentleman when I got the replica, I didn't get it live. Should I resign? Tell the Premier straight up, I'm done with this commission. You give me nothing to work with.
I'm a little bit different to you and Dr. Daly Tulu.
Understand.
In that, I've already told you what I think about the legislation and so on. I would stay on. And I would stick with the letter of the law. It says that if it says you're supposed to file by a particular time, and if you have not filed, then my recourse is with the DPP, I would immediately send your name to the DPP. I would be there going by the letter of the law until my term ended or until I was fired, whichever came earlier. But I would not have been walking away. I understand what Daly is saying, but I would have stayed on and I would have made sure that all these crooks, that their filings were in order. Because I still believe in what Kozia said. The government is like a criminal enterprise. I'm not backing away from that.
But how do you make sure things are in order when your hands are tied?
Yeah, but your hands are not totally tied. You have the right. The DPP said that, listen, he had charges which were already prepared. He was just waiting for names. I send your name. So if you do something slightly wrong and you are in the cabinet, Bragadam, your name goes down. Let you go defend yourself.
There are 80 people who have to submit to the Integrity in Public Life on Nevis. 80. You have now 80 persons that don't have to submit any attending documentation to prove what they're saying in the declaration. The Integrity in Public Life Commission have no investigative personnel. Everything has to be done by the commissioners themselves. You're asking them to do something that's impossible to do. To go and track down every bank record of every minister or of anybody who submits, you're asking them to do all that in a day's work. It is unconscionable. It's undoable. So if I am a commissioner and I know that this is impossible, why would I sit there and suck up people's oxygen? I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't be. I would be sucking up your oxygen. But if you want to frustrate me, I would frustrate you.
How? They have all the power. They have all the power.
There are ways, Dr. Daly. If you just filed with a comma out of place, I would have drawn it to the attention of the persons who are higher up. The DPP. Alan, you came close. You wanted to say something?
The other thing Dr. Daly mentioned, which was interesting, was we know for sure, and Cleon Stapleton Simmons has said that she disagrees with the leader about who should be the senator. Am I to take that disagreement as they cannot agree on anything at all? Because it seems like that one disagreement, and this is the only thing we know for sure, which she has stated. She disagreed about who should be the senator.
Not one, two. She disagreed on who should be the leader of the opposition as well.
Well, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that everything else is a disagreement?
No.
No, it's not.
And that's how come when you were asking, how are they going to verify? Because Mr. Keynes also mentioned another thing. He said there is not just the Integrity in Public Life Commission. There are other boards that the leader of the opposition is supposed to be advising on.
Yes.
And apparently those have not taken any kind of precedence. There is nothing to move them forward. But in this particular case, there is the need to do this particular thing.
Listen, the leader of the opposition matter can be sorted with one stroke of amendment to the Constitution. One stroke. They chose not to do it. This is a deliberate attempt to go backwards, take us backwards. They could have fixed it. They could have fixed it if they wanted to. But they chose not to. They went after the Integrity in Public Life Commission instead. Not the Constitution.
Let's take this phone call. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you?
I'm excellent. And let me wish everybody all the best for the rest of the year. Merry Christmas and a very happy and prosperous 2024. Hope it's better than 23.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question for you. Am I hearing right that if you put forward your assets to the commission, you do not have to supply supporting documentation?
Correct. In Nevis.
In Nevis, okay. Well, look at it this way, right? If I am a corrupt individual and I want to thief 2 million, and I in reality have 1 million in assets, when I put in my assets, I can put in 3 million. So when I thief the extra 2 and they come and search me, I only have 3.
I hear you.
And I already said I had 3. So in not supplying documentation, okay, it opens the whole thing up to even more corruption. It's fascinating. And why I think we should just disband the Integrity Lab, cancel the legislation, and let's keep running just how we're doing it. Because without documentation, without proper reporting, what is the point? Let me just do away with it. Because there's no
Might as
point at
well.
all as far as I can see.
Thank you very much, caller. You see, here is a challenge. I'm not sure that Nevis needed separate legislation to St. Kitts, because the federal should have been enough to cover St. Kitts and Nevis. Nevis is a part of the federation still. But anyway, be that as it may, that is the case. We'll come back right after this.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Welcome back to Tell Me, and tonight we are going to dig behind the numbers of the budget, and we want to look at a couple of things in the budget as well. I know all of us by now would have listened and heard both debates on St. Kitts and Nevis. Nevis went first. What is so strange to me is that the Premier of Nevis said that he was working, he had a good working relationship with Prime Minister during St. Kitts, but he said that about Timothy Harris as well. And then later on he came back and told us that he was out in the yard when Timothy Harris and others were inside the house. He might very well say the same thing this time around. But what is so strange is that when you look at the independence reset that was done in St. Kitts, and you come across to Nevis, Nevis didn't have any reset. Neither in land, reconnection for electricity or water. None of those resets in St. Kitts came across to Nevis. So it didn't surprise me then when Mark Brantley went into the House with a budget which was just a cut and paste of previous years. But more than just a cut and paste of previous years, it had absolutely no connections with what we saw in the federal budget, which came out a little bit later. And so, Alan, you have been looking at the budget. What have you found?
Well, I went back today also and I was listening to a past presentation because the Premier liked when you quote him. So the budget address August 29th this year, he was asked a question, I think, previously about the debt. And he said that the debt was 544 million. 0.7.
I'm going to want you to get close to that mic so that everybody could hear you.
Yeah. So he was saying that the debt was 544.7 million as of July. And I find it interesting that the debt as at October 2023 is 544.7. How is it possible we went August, September, October, and the same number that you gave me at the press conference and you say as of July? No, there was a little switch. I think the external went from 30 to 29 and another one jumped up by 1.5, but you gave me back the same number. It feels kind of strange. There was also a gap in the numbers that he would have given. He would have said we have a total NIA debt of 480, and then he said the statutory corporations was 36 million. Well, it's 480.3 plus 36.7. The total would have been 517. But when he stated what the debt was, he said the debt is 544. So there is another gap there of $27.7 million, roughly 10 million US. And you could also see it in the numbers, because actually when you come now and you see the statutory numbers is actually $64 million. So I don't know, because then also when I'm looking, there are some numbers that I'm not seeing. Nevis ANC Port Authority, some money for Finco. You see the establishment, which is the creditor and the guarantor, but you don't see an actual figure. So there is $27 million worth of money that we don't know. I don't know how much money Nevlec owes CDB, for example. I don't know how much NASPA or National Bank and Nevis. There is also another restructured Bank and Nevis loan. The other thing that I found that was interesting, did you know that there's only one ministry that makes money?
Finance?
Only the Ministry of Finance makes money. Every other ministry is in a deep hole. Ministry of Agriculture last year, I think they made $577,000. I think the budget was $19 million. There are a number of things that have to step up in order for us to have a sustainable economy, in my estimation. It can't just be the Ministry of Finance.
Suppose I tell you that the budget in Anguilla is $500 million. The budget that was just presented is $500 million.
I think people are going to use the excuse. They're going to say, well, England support them. I think that's going to be the general thing here.
Not to that extent. And suppose I tell you that in Anguilla that property taxes next year, at least for let me find it before I talk out of turn. But property taxes next year for 24 is going to be a zero. So you wouldn't have to pay your property tax for your house, Tulu, or Daily, or myself.
In Anguilla.
In Anguilla. In Nevis, we're struggling to collect revenue.
So what's the problem in Nevis?
The government. You got to change your government if you want to do anything in Nevis. Mark Brantley has never been good with numbers, and he does not surround himself with people who are capable of using numbers well. And the other part of it is that they're out of ideas. Absolutely, totally. Which new business has started in Nevis that employs more than 50 people?
None.
Okay. Okay.
But then, based on the figures that Alan gave, it says to me that the budget that the Premier present to us is unrealistic. It's not factual. There are a whole lot of stuff that is still left out, that is not accounted for.
Well, as I tell you, there is a total, but if you don't add up the numbers that are there, you would have to guess what the totals are for some of the, as I said, the loan from National Bank, Finco, Bank and Nevis, and there is some kind of outstanding money that Nevlec has for the CDB.
But we shouldn't have to guess. We should have all of the I's dotted and the T crossed. We should have all the information.
Daily, we went through that and we had a missing figure.
$44 million.
$44 million. When we went through the budget and you look at revenue and you look at expenditure, let me give you a classic difference between Nevis and Anguilla. We're about the same size. Let me read from the 2024 budget address by the Minister of Finance. The estimated amount that they proposed to collect was $288.23 million.
For 2023?
As at November 31st, 2023, the actual collections were $376.12 million.
So they collected more.
We're doing the reverse in Nevis. We project big numbers and collect smaller numbers. And daily you have been pointing out that to everybody who want to listen.
The revenue generating centers on Anguilla, tourism, financial services, remittances. And when you look at tourism, I made a comparison Saturday. On Nevis, there are about 10 or 12 established hotels / guest houses / inns. On Anguilla, there are 75. 75. And so you can see the disparity. So you can, if tourism is your major plant, then you could understand why Anguilla is reaping that kind of revenue from that. Then you had financial services. They are also big in financial services. Offshore banking, for example. Huge sector in Anguilla. It's growing in Anguilla, declining on Nevis. All right, so they have serious revenue generating capacity, and they are investing their money as well. They are seriously putting infrastructure into the airport, the seaport. The hotels are coming in there. The atmosphere is different down there for persons to invest. And so people are beating a path to Anguilla. They're flying past Nevis to go to Anguilla. It was reversed years ago. But we have a government that simply cannot find its way. And it's time for them to walk away. Seriously speaking, you can't tell me that the country of Anguilla, same size, can report a revenue of $400 million for 2023 as of November. And Nevis is struggling to get 130 million. Struggling, really struggling. The actual for 2022 for revenue was 118, 116 million. The projected was 134. All right, so we are going backwards in terms of revenue collection. And that is why the Premier has made the kind of budget address, which is grab. Increase fees on hospital, increase fees on fees at the supply office, increase water rates, and all kinds of things to try to get back something. But he's not getting it back from productivity. He's getting it back from taxing people more. That's what he's doing.
While he's taxing people more, I found the quote from the budget address by Minister Dr. Webster in Anguilla. And it says, no property tax on residential properties beginning 2024.
Nevis can't do that.
Can't. They can't even say 50%.
Let me tell you something. The only thing that's guaranteed come January 1st, the only thing that's guaranteed is a 5% salary increase.
What 5? 5 plus 8?
What? Listen, you could study and
13% are you looking for?
You could wish all you want. I'm telling you, the reality is, come January, the only thing that's guaranteed is 5%. The problem with that 5% is this. Those persons who started the journey as minimum wage earners 2 years ago, who will get their 5% come January 1st, they will still be under the now national mandated minimum wage of $4.30. If you do the calculations, you will still come up short. So what does the government do? What would they have to do? They will have to find an additional percent or 2 or 3 to add on to that 5%. But it would not be more than getting those persons out of that 430 position. They don't have the money. They simply, unless Dr. Drew decides to throw a bone to Nevis. And I see no indication that he like Nevis people anyhow. I don't see it happening. I would wish for it persons because people really need the relief. But the 5% is guaranteed. Those persons who need it, there are 3 or 4%, they will probably get it to get them out of the problems they're in with breaking the law. But I don't know if there is a moratorium. I don't know if there is a grace period for that to kick in. I don't know.
Let me ask you a question.
But the funny thing is, the budgeting thing is mentioned this 8% about a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Has the Premier weighed in on it?
He has not said a word.
Okay.
But then, isn't that national that when the federal government gives an increase, it comes across the board? Doesn't that 8% apply to Nevis?
It is, but remember that Nevis is run by a criminal enterprise. Remember that Dr. Timothy Harris said, listen, 10% in one go. And Dr. Papishaw Bulwis decided 5%, 5%, 5%. He gave an extra 5%. Nobody asked him for it. My argument is that Dr. Drew has now said 8%. I am looking for 5% in January. That Bullwies promised that he can give generously, plus the 8% from Dr. Drew.
It's reasonable.
Let me make a point here. And I really believe people think that when Brantley said 15%, that he was really interested in public service.
Not at all.
Right?
He didn't have the money.
This 15% was a backward way of getting 15% more dollars for his cabinet. Understand that. He didn't have to do it. He could have said 10%. But 10% pales in comparison to 15%. When you look at the monies that ministers made in 2022 versus what they will make come 2024, the premier's gone from 145 to 164. Advisors gone from 116 to 128 or 29. The increase
is 127 to 139.
No, that's just the last 5%. I'm talking about 2022. Right? The figures are there to show. The 15% increase, if you are a minister or advisor or you're the premier, you got your 15%. And your 50% paled in comparison, because of course it's a larger number you're working with. But you pale in comparison to what? A man who making $400 a week, he gets $60 extra for the last 3 years. The premier and his cabinet, this increase was about them. They've been angling for a long time to increase their wages. They had the perfect opportunity to do so and drop on a 15%. They don't care if you get your little pen cents, 10 cents. They're getting the big money. It was all about them. It was never about the public service. It was all about them. And look at the figures. You do the calculation.
Alan, you're running through looking for the numbers. But while you do that, let me tell you that Anguilla also addressed their minimum wage. And I understand some businesses here in St. Kitts and Nevis are kicking up because the minimum wage is going to be raised. You know what it is in Anguilla? $16.20.
Hey, if they can afford it. Let me get the numbers here.
Effective January 1st, 2024, $16.20 EC.
Prior to the pay raise, the premier made $149,460. After the 15% come January 1st, $164,520. Ministers, whether junior or senior ministers, they made $127,080. Prior to the 15%, come January 1st, $139,800. If you're an advisor, prior to the pay raise, you made $106,740. After the pay raise, you made $120,680.
From 6 to 20?
106,740 to 123,680. These are in estimates. I'm not making these numbers up. This is what they're going to make. The estimates of 2024, January 1st. This is what they're showing. And you go back in the last couple of estimates. From where the pay raise started, the premier made $149,460. Come January 1st, he was making $164,520. You think this pay raise was for poor people? We are incidental. The poor people were incidental in this argument. It was all about them. People must understand this. That's why he gave 15% and not 10%. He was not trying to be generous to the poor people. He was being generous to his cabinet because he was angling for years to do it. But he didn't have the political will to do it. He waited for Dr. Harris to say 10%. And he said, we are 15%. I'm going to up him one. It was for him and his cabinet this money was for. That's all. In the story. Understand that. It was not about the public service, the public servants. It was about them.
What are you finding in the numbers, Alan?
Oh, well, what I was telling Dr. Daly, well, what I actually saw is that the ministers themselves only took 10%, whereas everybody else in cabinet, except the legal advisor, got the 15%. So I seen in 2022, the ministers were making 127.80, and the premier was making 149.460. and in 2023 that's when it went to 164. But I'm also seeing the same 164 in 2024.
Yes,
if it was 15%, he would have actually gone to 171. And I think what really happening for me, Dr. Daly, is I am looking to see if something is gonna be slipped in.
And it is likely. And it is
I'm
likely
looking to see if
because
in because they have not taken the full 15.
In
everybody else get the full 15.
In 2012. They campaigned that they would take a 10% pay cut and they took a 20-something% increase instead. So they are quite capable of cooking the books and slipping in numbers. So don't let that fool you too much. I want to look at a couple of things inside the budget itself. And for this, we're going to come back to the numbers. But for this, I want to go to the budget that was presented. This one was presented in February of 2023. And I want to go to paragraph 56. And in paragraph 56, they were talking about the poultry industry. And I want to look at some numbers because the Premier said in the budget, during the year 2022, a total of 519,184 pounds of chicken and chicken byproducts at an estimated value of $1.5 million were imported. And he said that this was lower than the 706,800 pounds imported in 2021. I want to go to paragraph 86 of the last budget that was presented because I like to look at hard numbers. And so when I go to that paragraph, let me see, it was 56 and 86. It said that we are pressing ahead with our efforts to pursue broiler production with the acquisition of a turnkey bird processing plant as well as the associated equipment for the provision of the various parts. And they are looking to commence very early in the new year and completed early in 2024. Construction and installation of the turnkey facility as prospect is expected to commence very early in the new year and completed early in 2024. Dr. Daly is our resident expert, and he always tells me that is just a pie in the sky. That is not going to happen because when you look at it, they had the groundbreaking ceremony and nothing else has happened since that groundbreaking ceremony. Where we at with that, Dr. Daly? How accurate is the Premier with his pronunciations?
His pronunciation is good. His prediction is bad. I saw a picture of the proposed plant, and they really need to go back to the drawing board and redesign that plant because it's not a house. A plant is not a house. It's a business. It's an industrial business. It's a nasty business. It's a dirty business. And when you're building a plant like that, you have to keep that in mind, that you're dealing with a lot of waste, a lot of blood, a lot of water, a lot of feathers, a lot of meat, a lot of fat all over the place. You can't do it in a house. And that what I saw there is a house. I have not seen the internal designs, but they need to really consider bringing this into a discussion where making sure the persons who are expert in these kind of areas can have a look before they start to build. Because from the picture I saw, the rendering by the artist, I don't know who it is, the architect, that would not, in my estimation, do it. The second problem they have is that they have not yet gotten approval from physical planning for the construction of the facility. There's still some issues with waste disposal. There's still some issues of what we call throughput. You know, this plant is supposed to be handling 10,000 birds per week. I don't see where they can handle that many of birds. So there's a lot of logistical problems that we really have to work out. The third problem, of course, is that the land identified by the government, .webs, you need a lot of infrastructure down there because you're not going to be putting houses and poultry houses at great expense, and you have limited access to water and power and those kind of things. So There's a lot of work to be done, and I don't see the reason why you'd be rushing into making mistakes again. You need to really consolidate and figure out exactly what are the logistical bottlenecks in this program. How are we going to overcome the fact that the supply office doesn't have enough space for feed storage? If you're going to be producing that amount of birds per week, 10,000 birds a week.
And they have made no provisions in the budget for a doubling or tripling of the size of the warehouse down at supply office.
Nothing. They already have problems with the current feed supply, not only for poultry, but for pigs and cattle and dogs. How are you going to overcome that bottleneck, which is feed? Now, these birds are designed to do one thing, is to eat. They eat 24/7. That is why they can put on 4.5 pounds in 6 weeks. It's not because of hormones. It's because they're designed to eat. They're genetically modified to eat. And they eat and eat and eat. Until 6 weeks, you get up to 4.5, 4 pounds. And you're not going to be, you can't go and feed those animals rice. You can't feed them pig feed. You can't feed them scratch grains. You have to feed them what they're designed to eat. Otherwise, it does not work. And so they really need to consider stepping back from this program and bringing persons who know what they're going to encounter, and make sure you have all the T's crossed and I's dotted. Otherwise, a lot of divisions going to lose a lot of their money in this investment because people are really gung-ho about getting into this endeavor. It's a worthwhile endeavor. We have spoken about it, we have supported it, but there's a lot of other groundwork that needs to be done before the government can pull the trigger on this.
Well, let me put something on the table. Alan, I've pulled up my calculator. I want you to work some maths for me. The Premier said that, look at the numbers for 2022. A total of 519,184 pounds of chicken and chicken byproducts were consumed by Nevis. Alan, work the calculator. Oh, you have it? No, and not that one. These are the numbers I want to give you to work now. In the budget for 2024, the Premier said that the average amount of 132,500 pounds of chicken are consumed weekly by residents in Nevis.
Weekly, wow.
Multiply that by 52 for me. 132,500.
6,890,500.
6,890,000. That's pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pounds.
That's pounds, yeah.
Okay. Let's go back. In 2022, a total of 519,184 pounds of chicken and chicken byproducts were consumed in Nevis. This is paragraph 56 of the budget of February of this year. So on the one hand, the Premier told us in February of this year, 519,184 pounds of chicken were consumed in Nevis. Chicken and chicken byproducts.
Maybe meant per month.
And then by December, he came back and told us, no, it's 132,500 per week, which gives us 6,890,000. So you understand that is 6,300,000 more pounds than he told us not a year ago, from February to now. I mean, you believe the Premier think that we just read these kind of things, Alan, and would notice that this can't be just a simple mistake.
It's an honest mistake.
It's an honest mistake. When I go through the budgets, I look for these kind of inconsistencies. And you don't catch them by reading one budget. You got to reflect and see, what did he say in respect to something else?
I think we got to face reality that the gentleman speak with one intention in mind. It is to deceive. That's the whole idea. That's what he runs on. And it served him well over the years. So why change it?
I want to go to the Southeast Road. And why am I going to the Southeast Road? Because this was mentioned by NRP in 2017. And so in 2019 or thereabouts, the Premier had in their budget $500,000 for consultancy on the Southeast Peninsula. not Southeast Peninsula, the southeast of Nevis. We don't know if the money was spent. There has been no accounting for the $500,000. We don't know if consultants were hired. We don't know if people were paid for doing nothing and quietly went away. But this year, paragraph 102. When I go to paragraph 102 in the most recent budget, it says that the administration is still cognizant of the fact that there exists great economic potential in accessing the south side of the island. This was mentioned at great length in my last budget presentation. The ministry has commenced the preparation of bidding documents for the eventual construction of that road leading from the Long Point Road extending along the southern belt to Indian Castle. Although delayed, we shall in 2024 invite proposals for the preliminary surveys and design leading to the eventual start of the project. Again, I come to you, Dr. Daly. Any hope in this?
I hope so. I really hope so. Nevis needs to expand, and the southeast is the only place left of great significance to expand to. We've been saying it since 2017 that need to be a coastal road running from Long Point all the way to Butlers. I'm hoping that the Premier sees a vision in this, that we can need to open up the part of the country to invite development in the part of the country, whether local or imported development. And so I do hope they find the resources. It's a matter of priority, and I think, given the things that the government has spent money on, which have not turned out to be very good, I think this will be a worthwhile endeavor if it's done properly, because there are a lot of landowners in that area who would like to open up themselves for sales. But right now, I mean, $20,000 an acre, if you're lucky, $15,000 an acre, people are not going to want to sell for that. But once the land is opened up and investors can pour in and make use of it, whether it's for housing or industrial development, hotel development, I think 1/3 of the country being landlocked as it is right now is untenable. We need to have that country opened up and to have the feeder roads come down from Cox, from Brown Hill, from Indian Castle, Butlers, and feed into that road. I mean, we need it. I do hope that they make it a priority for 2024. I really do.
I hope so. I want to look at the airport before we look at the hospital, because the airport was also addressed in the budget of last year. I think it should be in paragraph 37, where they spoke to extending the airport by 1,500 feet and committing to enhancing our tourism offerings by working to attract the private jet industry as well as regional jets and so on. That is in paragraph 37. And let's go to paragraph 56 in the budget, which was presented just recently. And, 55 and 56. Because 55 is where the Premier reported that they had signed a contract with the engineering and design firm Perez Engineering Limited to provide professional services for the airport expansion. We are making adequate provisions in this budget for the funding of phase 1 of this work, which involved the consultation and design phase of the airport. I am pleased to report, Madam President, that public consultations on this critical project have already started. This is consistent with the Nevis Island Administration's commitment to be an open and transparent government. Alan, you went to the consultation. Was it useful? Was it open? Was it transparent? Did you get your questions answered?
I didn't get all of the questions answered that I would have liked at the... Well, I think that maybe it wasn't based on my expectation, because I was expecting a little bit more flesh and substance to what was going on. Even the questions that I had were not necessarily for the special advisor. The questions that I had were more for the Canadian gentleman. And that was the thing that was also strange. The persons who presented didn't necessarily answer questions. I think one of the questions that was answered was when Dr. Daly challenged the credentials of one of the gentlemen. But outside of that, the persons who actually presented and were speaking about what was going on didn't say anything. Because one of the things, and people were keen on it, the man who is in charge of doing the fire hall and I think the terminal, he would have mentioned, I know that you all have given us a budget. There's a tight budget. So everybody in there wants to know what was the number you were given. And as the Premier said, it's just a budget. So it could go up, it could go down. But what is the general number you were given? And then one of the things I wanted to know was, what would have been the ideal number? If we're going to do this and we're going to do this the right way, how much money should we really invest in this? Because he was mentioning like he wants to keep the not the tower, the terminal where it is. If you are going to expand the taxiway, I don't know how the terminal is going to stay where it is. I can't see no idea. I have no idea how the terminal is going to stay. If the taxiway. I would think that you're going to demolish the whole thing. But I think the drawback is they have been told, this is your budget. This man went down to, he was speaking about insulation and he was saying, well, if you're going to do double insulation, it would cost this. But then he would say, you know, but I got to stick within the budget. And even when the question was asked by the preacher was not answered as to what is the actual budget. And not to skip off of this, but going back to the debt also. This project and the geothermal project, especially the geothermal project, now we got extra $15 million, and the Premier says if successful this converts to a loan, that means our external figure is gonna jump by 80 million, and we ain't gone into the financing for what we're gonna do over at the airport yet. So these things, I really feel like it's a blessing that geothermal ain't come yet. Because we will definitely already, it will be 650 in debt.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening again, gentlemen. Do me a favor, please don't call that airport thing a consultation. At best, it was a poor press conference. Okay, it was not a consultation.
I agree with you.
They were not interested in seeking the views of any of the people of meeting, residents or nationals. And the other thing is this whole build it and they will come attitude to tourism. Do any of you know how many hotel rooms there are needed?
I'm not sure. I've not been keeping up. We should be reducing, right? With Nisbet's close.
Okay, they're barely 400. That includes the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons has 198. Nisbet, O'Reilly Mount Nevis put together has 67 rooms. Between, you come back, or keep going around the island, between Golden Rock, Hermitage, and Montpellier, they don't have 50 rooms put together. Okay? And then you have Penny's Beach Hotel and the Hamilton. It takes it just over 400. The Marriott in St. Kitts has 600 rooms, yeah. So the Marriott in St. Kitts has 50%, one hotel has 50% more rooms than the whole of Nevis put together. But you're going to build this, and all these jets going to come in from all over the world. If you listen to the Spanish-speaking gentleman, you're going to get jets coming in from all over South America, as far away as Saudi Arabia. All these tourists coming. Where are they going to stay? It's like, the cart before the horse. It's fascinating, but yet you say, we build it and we get all it. Okay, you can bring flights from those places, but can you put people on them? And if you put people on them, do you have anywhere for them to stay? People don't realize how small the Nevis tourism product is. it is minuscule. As I said, one hotel in St. Kitts has 50% more rooms than the whole of Nevis.
I hear it.
It's let's get real. And as I said, please don't call it a consultation. And when Dr. Daly asked about tendering, the answer to tendering was how experienced the person they chose was. Not that, of all of the people who put in bids, this was the most experienced. If they had said that, it would have been very acceptable.
How the Peter Cabbage, ma'am? You ask one question and they answer a totally different answer. Thank you very much. Alan, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the debt. And I am going to ask you to look at the debt with respect to the debt under Joseph Parry, the debt under Van Samry, the debt under Mark Brantley. So I hope that you have those numbers so that we can go behind the numbers. Because the CCM used to make a whole song and dance and said that under NRP Joseph Parry, NRP racked up so much debt and that we were developing Nevis too fast and they were seeing too many things. You have those numbers for us?
I have some issues with the numbers. Let me tell you that. For example, in 2005, this would have been the last CCM budget. Vance would have put the debt at 150 million and some change. But in Joseph Parry's first address, I think he would have said that the debt is closer to $300 million. I think 278. And I find it confusing anytime there is a change of government. It seems like the number that is the debt always expands.
This is where you look at the audit reports, because those would give you a more accurate number. So I'm going to go and pull my audit reports for 2005-06.
Okay. That's on the website as well?
I'm not sure. I have hard copies.
Well, the real point I wanted to make, because I feel like the Premier did a very smart thing in the budget address. From the numbers that I see, during Vance's tenure as the Premier, Vance didn't spend money bad. I didn't see that in the numbers. What was very smart of the Premier is he added Vance's numbers to his numbers. So he looked at it and he said from 2013 until 2023, Nevis has accumulated like 180 million in debt. My thing is, of the 180 million, the Premier has 100, and I would, at the low end is 120, and at the high end is 160.
So he has been racking up the debt, but to hide it, he has pulled in the numbers from Amri.
He used Vance Amri conservative numbers in order to say, well, when you look at CCM debt, CCM has been good with the money. My thing is, and I think that he would admit this, CCM under Vance Amri and CCM under Mark Brantley is two different things.
The largest budget we ever had, the two largest budgets we ever had in our history, were under Brantley.
Mm-hmm.
The first budget in 2017, when he became Premier, was the largest single budget we ever had, $276 million or $273 million, something like that. And then this year is the largest ever in our history, $283 million, basically, 282.7. And so he has a penchant for this big ballooning budget. But when you try to disaggregate the numbers and try to figure out, well, where is this money coming from to support this budget, you find it's a lot of information is missing. You got the $44 million hole that you don't know. He overinflates the recurrent revenue. The only thing that is sure in that budget is the $66 million from St. Kitts.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it is conjecture, overestimation, because the actuals for Act for Recurrent Revenue has never come close to what they're projecting. Never come close.
Taxing you.
And so he presents these unrealistic budgets, big and hyperbole, and so we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. And when you come down to the come, there's no money. There is no money. You understand? Because he's projecting 154, I believe, million in the current revenue for 2024. We have never ever come close to that in our history.
True.
We have never come close to it. And yet he's projecting that based on what?
Taxing you.
He said that the economy is turning around.
It's turning around.
Yeah, the world economy.
The economy is turning around. He said GDP is going to be up, blah, blah, blah. But yet, he's saying, listen, we are going to be putting all sorts of IMF kind of stranglehold on people. No increments, no salaries increasing. No increment, no promotions. All right? Travel has remained standstill. And we're going to start taxing you on everything from hospital care to feed supply. So the reality is he's saying one thing in terms of how rosy the picture looks going forward. But the austerity measures he's putting in place is telling you the reality of what 24 going to look like. And I've told people, tighten your belts.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for the 2024 economy. It's going to be rough. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very, very rough. You understand? Because this government here has not done a very good job of development. They have not grown the tax base 1 inch. Matter of fact, we have retracted in tax base because Hotel Nisbet is gone. All right? Alan indicated the only revenue generating center is the Ministry of Finance. The others are all making losses.
And huge losses.
Okay. The financial sector, from his own calculation, and he was being conservative when he went to Barbados some years ago, what the financial sector has contracted by 40%. 40%.
He said we'll grow it by 50% next year.
Really?
That's what he said in the budget.
Okay.
Listen, we're gonna come back to this. Alan, I still want to hear some more about the way that Brantley has been hiding the numbers. Because you looked at NRP under Joseph Barry, you looked at CCM in government under Vance, and how Mark was very smart in lumping himself with Vance while he has been spending money like a drunken sailor. We're going to take a break, but before we take the break, let me tell you that if you haven't yet picked up your ticket for the car raffle, which is done by Clark's One Stop every year, I want you to go and get your tickets. It's just $100 for tickets. Normally, if you buy tickets early like me, one ticket is $75, and two tickets are for $100. One for $75, two for $100, and is a lovely black Jeep with a red ribbon tied on it. It has been on the town and all over, and normally I don't wait to support. I make sure that I support Stevin because he has been doing some good things very quietly for the community. For the past 3 years, I know that they have paid for students who graduated from high school and missed out on maths and English. They have paid for them to do private classes, and starting in 2024, he will be paying for private classes in maths and English for the weaker grade 6 students. Not just in one area, but in all the primary schools in Nevis. So go buy your ticket and make sure that you stand a chance. And even if, like me, you don't win, you still do it because you are helping our young people in Nevis. And in particular, those persons, Stephen says expanding it. All primary school children, the weaker children in maths and English, he will be sponsoring them. So look for Stephen and buy your ticket, one for $75, 2 tickets for $100, and when you hear your name called and you get pulled out of the bag the night, you say glory, hallelujah. Stephen, if I am not present and my name comes out, don't tell me that I wasn't where you did the draw so I can't win. If I'm home sleeping, wake me up. Let's hear from our good friends at Kangen, and then we'll come back and look behind the numbers again, because I'm fascinated by this debt Nevis is in a dark hole. This 17 million US dollars that we have been committed to for the Caribbean Development Bank, and we ain't even know when we're going to drill next. And the people have already said that, listen, you asked us to come in here to do production well drilling, but we want to also do the wells for replenishing the supply and so on. That's another, going to be another 15 million, you know, so it's 17 and 15 is 32 and his Uncle Sam we're talking in. And so when you add that to the debt, and you add the airport $80 million to the debt, 700 and change million dollars we're going to be in debt here in Nevis. I won't come back.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water. Change your life.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers.
Welcome back to Tell Me, and it's the usual Dr. Daly, Tulu, Carlisle, and we have Alan Powell with us this evening, helping us to look at the numbers and behind the numbers and all kind of things here with respect to Nevis. You uncovered how Brantley is afraid to stand on his own, so he has pulled in the numbers for the most conservative. Listen, Vance was more than conservative. Vance was mean. He mean with his own money, he mean with the people money. So, but he didn't, listen, one thing you could say, he didn't rock the boat. He didn't get one hotel in Nevis. He didn't attract any industries, but he didn't spend the money either.
But how you equate that with leaving $164 million in appropriation that didn't come to the people?
Didn't come to the attention of the people at the time. But what did he do with the $164 million?
We don't know.
He covered it nicely in the budget. Vance was the kind of fella, he was ditto. He now spend and he now make no money. Go ahead with the numbers there, Alan.
Well, what I wanted to say is, and I thought of this today. When, and Mr. Brown, I think, made the point. When a government is what they call expansionary, they will tend to incur debt. So incurring debt is not a bad thing. But when you spend the money, you must spend the money on things that you are going to end up and see development, you're going to see finance. You're going to see that because you spend that money, you create an environment for other people to come and invest and spend their money. NRP...
Make sure you stay close to the mic, we want to hear you.
NRP was accused of developing Nevis too fast, for instance. But it's not a bad thing if you incur debt, but you see actual development. In contradistinction to what we have now, where you have hospitals supposed to come from since 2017. If we had the hospital, the debt feel better, because at least you have something tangible to say, hey, I have this thing.
So you're saying to the people who are listening to you right now that the Mark Brantley administration has racked up debt and there's nothing really tangible to show for that debt, versus the NRP was able to show you something tangible for the debt?
I'm saying that the argument that people said was NRP developing the place too fast.
I'm putting you on the spot. What are you saying at this point? When do they come power, son?
Well, when I'm being realistic about it, because I was trying to look at what did they invest in that currently makes money, and the only thing I could find is the pier over at Wally.
Okay.
So overall, they would have to get a failing grade. But this is weird. I would not say that there is nothing happening in the country. But when you have things happening here, something happening there, and it's not coming together as a holistic plan, then even though things are happening, a road is here, a road is here. If there is no connectivity, then it's like you're just throwing darts on a board. You understand? Whereas if there is some sort of connection, you're trying to deliver some kind of pattern, then you're going to see the connectivity, and then that will flow into economic prosperity.
So you will say that the Bentley administration has gotten a F minus?
In terms of investments that I could see that are producing money.
Okay.
As I tell you, it's only one ministry currently makes money, and it's the Ministry of Finance.
Thank you.
Anything else, Alan?
The other thing I wanted to say, Dr. Daly said that he does see bloating in the current revenue. That might be the case this year, because that's a very big number. I see bloating sometimes in the capital revenue, although they seem to have gotten a little more conservative in recent years, but they don't generally get what they want necessarily in terms of the capital revenue. The other thing that I would pay attention to is when you add up the current revenue, the current budgetary support, and the capital revenue, if it's a best case scenario, and then you take it away from what they expect to spend, then you see that they are going to look for $44 million in loans in order to execute the projects.
$44 million in taxes.
No,
you can't. No.
Well, what I'm saying, if they do 44 million in taxes, they're gonna get way more than the current revenue. But in order to make up the gap, what generally happens is the government gonna have to go look alone. And all I'm saying is really, this is where you get sold a dream, and this is where I think the premier said, Janice going on like, because I said I'm gonna do a school. That I mean I'm gonna do the school this year. That doesn't mean I'm gonna do the school this year. I'm not necessarily here to do what I think he undermined himself by saying that, but he was like, that's not what I'm here to do.
But that's exactly what Premier Parry called in last week to complain about. That during his tenure as Premier of this country, the budgets he presented were realistic budgets. If you said you're going to do a capital project, you did the capital project. You had money funded for it. This kind of fly-by-night budget this guy presents, it has no credibility, no authenticity, and therefore he can say, listen, these are just projections. This is his behavior. These are just projections to make things sound good. We have the largest budget. We have all these capital projects. We're going to be doing roads. We're going to be doing this. We're doing that. At the end of it, he's going to say, you know what? I couldn't do it because I didn't have the money.
You want me to give you a hard example? Last year's budget. The budget that was presented in February of this year. Paragraph 88. The Sir Simeon Daniel Community College will be built and will allow Nivisions an even greater opportunity to access tertiary level education through avenues such as UWI Open Campus, etc., etc. This is one of those where he just mentioned it is there. Did he action it? No. Did he plan to action it?
No.
Absolutely not. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Powell and the panel.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm awesome. Tulu do not use no F for that man. He got an E for effort. is a dismal failure. Where you guys need to have a moment of silence for the death of Nevis as it relates to this gentleman. He needs to just resign. He's a dismal failure when it comes to progress. I think he needs to hand in the towel. I think the people of Nevis is tired of the big words. Just like Pala. You ask Pala for a watermelon, Pala will tell you have 50,000 watermelon up there, and Pala only have one. We are tired of the big numbers. We are tired of the big words. I mean, I don't even know why he used the big words, because if somebody cannot understand you or relate to you, you said nothing. So Tulu, please, E for effort, never F. E for effort. Good night.
Thank you very much, caller.
Well, the caller is actually right. I mean, when you go to the budget, especially under the capital heads, and you see all the gargantuan plans to develop a boardwalk along Samuel Hawkins Drive to culminate at Pennies, and the TVET program for education, the one you just mentioned, so Simeon Daniel tertiary level education center, and all these things, they mean absolutely nothing.
You know, they ain't even identify land for the.
It's insulting. It's insulting to premiers and prime ministers across the world who try their utmost to come to Parliament to pass a budget that's realistic. It's insulting to the people of Nevis for this guy to continually come to the people and say you're going to do X, Y, and Z, knowing fully well you have no money to do it.
But it works. It works for him, because over the years he gets people to suck into his foolishness. I remember one time Carl got the stick or the rat of Amri, because Carl began to say this, hey, these are the amount of hotels that you said to us year after year that is going to generate foreign direct investment in the country and jobs. I'm got so angry, say, listen, that was a wish list. Okay, after telling you this for all of the years, was a wish list. It's the very same thing this guy is operating under. So he's telling you that, knowing fully well that he has nothing concrete, there's no real plans for what he's saying, but he's saying it because it sounds good, because he knows that there are some people in the society will just listen to what he has to say and say, okay, we're going along with you again. So it has happened from the beginning of his political career. He came out, I have $1 million that was given to me to assist underprivileged children in Nevis. That is since 2007. Tell me if there's any underprivileged child has seen a dime out of $1 million. But people sucked in and continue to work.
But that might work, and it'll work for a period of time. And that is why he has to import voters to vote for him, to roll for him. But I would prefer to know that there's a serious man in the Premier's office.
True.
Right? A serious person in the Premier's office who can look at a project, make sure you can bring it to the people, make sure you can complete it, bring it to life. Right? That is not happening at all. The broiler project is a perfect example. You're mixing productivity in terms of person getting employment, people being more productive, persons who are retired can buy into it. Make it work. What do you need to do to make it work? What do you need to do to make it work? That is the question that he must be asking his technicians. How much money do I need? What are the skill sets I need? What are the logistics I need to make it work?
But does he involve his technicians in what he's doing?
But if he does that, everybody wins.
That is true.
Everybody wins. And I can't understand for the life of me why he's taking on the role of a showman instead of a role of an architect or a builder or a producer. Why is he taking on this role? To just keep going on this hypothetical path of development rather than a real development. It's mind-boggling that a person who has gotten so much has produced so little. I mean, you've gotten $500 million over the years from St. Kitts. You still get $66 million every year $5.5 million.
No other premier got that.
No other premier has done it.
Vance got less,
Right?
and he
And
was second in line.
You still can't make heads or tails of development. Let's take the airport, for example. Think it just added an apron and hangars and all that down there. Through their own resources. It's most likely CBI. All right? We have farmed out our hotel, our airport development to a billionaire. What do you expect to happen?
But there's something here. And I believe that genuinely his heart is in the airport and nothing else. He spoke about the having people who are now doing design. You have these people here looking at the design for whatever they're going to do. He did not do anything like that for the hospital. But for the airport, he told us what he wanted the airport for. It is not about commercial thing. He said that there are rich people who lives on the island of Nevis and they want to be able to fly their jets into Nevis. It has nothing to do with the people. It has everything to do with the rich people. You must ask yourself, are the rich people clients of his business? I don't know. But there's where his heart is.
Are you think he planning to buy a jet too?
Maybe.
Okay. Gentlemen, it's 11 minutes after the hour. It's getting late. It's already late. So, anything else pressing, Alan, you want to look at? Because somebody came in and brought a pot of food and I instantly got hungry. So, by the way, somebody came by me today and gave me a little sugar cake for Tell Me. So at least I'll be going to the bank tomorrow to make sure that I make the bank happy.
Thanks. But you know, Alan made mention about the pier. I was at the pier Monday evening and I was there Tuesday evening. And you know what I discovered? In one of the booths that they sell tickets, they have to use phone lights. It's their phone, the people using their phone to sell the ticket. I said, what kind of nonsense is this? Here it is that they're boasting about the amount of people coming here and they're making that amount of money. But yet, one booth, like he has electricity, I don't know if the bulb was blown in the other
So
one.
that
There's a phone they were using.
No, that might be the Port Authority booth that had the lights, and then the other one which is operated by one, the ferry operators.
But they're paying rent.
Yeah, and they should at least get electricity. But gentlemen, you're forgetting that they started renovations on a building over there since God McMahon.
The premier said in his budget address the building is finished.
And they were still putting on an addition.
Don't kill the messenger. The man said it.
He couldn't say that.
But he said work on the hospital finished too.
Well,
the outside.
The outside.
And for a whole year they ain't doing work on the inside.
And look, we ain't even touch this consultancy.
Yeah.
Medical consultants. We haven't even touched that.
And we can't find it. We can't find, listen, reputable people in the United States of America who do work on architectural designs for hospitals cannot find this 2-year-old consultant that the Nevis Island administration hired. Nobody could find them. Okay.
Brantley found them.
You got any numbers there that you want to look at? Or anything else you want to look at, Alan?
The only other thing is that I feel like the Premier could free up himself in 2024 and finally admit that the hospital is going to be over budget.
Way over budget.
I think we're at the point in time now when he could admit to himself and the people that I'm going to give you the hospital at some stage in time. I don't even telling you that it's going to be next year. But I think he need to come to terms with the fact that
he would never do it.
The hospital is going to be over budget. I think we could see that. So he could, it's about 3 years now, he holding it in. But it's going to be over budget.
He could finally release it. Good evening, Carla.
Good evening, Carla, and to the rest of the panel. Carla, I just wanted to call in quickly. You mentioned and you quickly moved on about the medical design consulting group out of Florida that the premier mentioned in his budget, and this is the company that is supposed to be doing the internal design for the extension at the hospital. Am I correct?
Correct. This is, let me see, let me go to paragraphs 135 and 136. That's where is Medical Design Consultants LLC, a Florida-based company. According to the Premier, they have been working to provide quantity takeoffs for the internal aspects of the new hospital wing. That is bullshit for saying that they're designing the flow pattern.
Well, I have some serious concerns about this company. I did some investigation on this company, spoke with a number of reputable company, and I can call names. People can always Google them. I don't have anything to hide. Perkins and Wells is one of the leading healthcare architectural companies in the United States of America, and anyone can Google that. They have offices in almost every state, including Florida. They reached out to their office in Florida, a number of people on their team, and they could not find anything on this company, which suggests to me, and as a matter of fact, one of the correspondents said to me, this can possibly be a scam. These are companies that have large databases. Of course, they do contract and subcontract work to smaller companies when they're doing their large projects, hospital, healthcare institutions, whatever it is in healthcare. They couldn't find anything. The company, a new company, this company obviously doesn't have any experience in the design or designing hospitals. Okay? And if a reputable company can tell me that, as a matter of fact, more than one company stated the same thing. 2 different companies all reached out to their team, and they couldn't find anything on this company. So a couple of things may be happening here, Carlisle. Either the people who are advising the Premier just Googled a company and came up with a name and gave us a name and presented a name in the budget, or somebody in Florida is lying to the Premier. And could it be, Carlisle, could it be that the Premier really hasn't retained any such company? Because if they have, then it means that the people of Nevis will more than likely be scammed. Not only that, you're also getting an incompetent company or a company that lacks the requisite experience to design a hospital, which pushes us further in the hole, because then you'll end up with results that would not satisfy the people of Nevis and the public of Nevis. So what we see happening here, Carlisle, is that you had an incompetent designer, and now you are retaining a company that doesn't have any experience to design the internal flow of the hospital, whatever that means. Okay? And so who ends up pays the bill? The people of Nevis, and they get nothing in return. It's about time that the people in Nevis wake up and smell the coffee and understand that the Premier is not serious about healthcare in Nevis, and therefore this is the reason why you're getting this foolishness from the Premier about estimates and so forth. It's about time that the Premier reaches out to someone who is reputable, who has experience, to help him out with this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carla.
We just had a company here to do a geothermal well. We have had a report that is a well that they have to discard. What we are gathering is that this company that they brought in here to do that is not a company that was expert in the field of doing that. And so we have to be paying out to a company monies for a product that is absolutely no use to us. It happened with the Cotton Ground Road, where the minister said he made a mistake in the choice of a contractor.
Honest mistake.
An honest mistake in the choice of a contractor. Cost us over $10 million. So, according to the caller, we might be again in the same position with this company that they say is contracted to do the floor of the hospital, whatever designs, that we might find ourselves in the very same position that we hire people and pay them money who cannot deliver. It's a track record of the administration. And you ask yourself the question, Who in the administration has benefited from all of these deals? Who benefited out of the administration from this company that came into geothermal? Who benefited from the company who cost us $10 million overrun? And who is going to benefit from this deal, benefiting from this deal? A serious question that we have to ask.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The red flag I had when I heard about the U.S. company was the premier said that he found a company in the United States that could do the job for the same price as the
Impossible.
people in
Never
as
happened.
soon as he said that, I said, listen, Mr. Premier, you're going to have to show me. You're going to have to show me.
Easy to US? Okay.
Because just in terms of transportation, the costs already got to be higher.
Mhm.
Just in terms of transportation. So that was a red flag for me.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Powell, and good evening to you guests, Tulu, your co-host, and well, I just started listening, and I just heard the word geothermal, and geothermal is really a thing that would geothermal and secession. Then there are some kind of ticklish issue nowadays, so you got to know how you handle them. Mr. Powell, I before I get into whatever it is, I want to wish you and your family and the members and your listeners, and tell me a very Merry Christmas and a blessed, prosperous New Year and all the best for 2024. And I hope we can do better things in 24. Mr. Powell, geothermal. Geothermal these days has become a very ticklish issue. Now, when Paris says, and NRP says, well, it was CCM first, said geothermal. NRP got in government and took it and run with it. They had a West Indies power, and West Indies, you know what I'm talking about, the connection with Kerry McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to move forward with geothermal. No, and that's why I wanted Timothy to speak. I didn't want Timothy to speak because I'm favor any political party. I just like when issues like this arises that the people hear and understand exactly what's going on. Now, CCM says they would turn on the switch in 2017, 2018. They won the election, nothing happened. Now, with NRP didn't get geothermal, CCM people were blaming, CCM supporters were blaming NRP. When CCM didn't get geothermal, NRP supporters were blaming CCM, and rightly so. Now, geothermal didn't look like a good prospect under CCM. CCM handed it over. You know, it seems like now, Navy John's gone back to the blaming game. If the federal government cannot deliver geothermal, all what that will do is to make the leader of CCM and the premier look incompetent. But Navy's people can blame the federal government. Because if you realize, the geothermal is right now in the hands of the federal government. They are the one who running with it. They are the one who talking about it most. All you could understand from the Navy's end is yes, I support. And they were talking something about some letter, and I vex about that. And I tell you why I vex about that. Janice Daniel Hodge, she spoke about it in the House. And she was asked to withdraw, you don't know where it come from. But when you listen to Conway talk about the same and sign of the letter, when you listen to Dr. Joe, he mentioned it. And you listen now to Timothy going into the letter now and the Exim Bank, and then he get cut off. And I don't like that. It disturbs me because I would like Navy John public and the people when listen in the House. Say that again? Okay, good.
Hello?
When you look at it, my brother. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. I mean, when you look at it, it's like we lost now. So we now blame Sink it. But Sink it only take it up because maybe the Navy said we're incompetent. I don't know how to. It's like I don't know, but they're gonna get it. They have to get it because when I listen to Joanna Clark anyhow, she says secession must be out the vocabulary of Nigerians because once you get the geothermal, ain't no way we're gonna be like Gaza and Israel. So you can't get geothermal coming from the federal government and now we say we still attack secession. That's not gonna work in our vocabulary. It can't work. So I just wanted, I just listened. I don't know what was the topic before, but I just heard geothermal and I jumped in. Just reach home from my chores and I just said I'll make a contribution. But that's it for me for the night. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carla.
Let me ask you a question there. When Joya Clark is say if the federal government is in with geothermal, then secession is off the table. What she's proposing, Article 113, take not the Constitution? Is that her proposal? Okay.
Dr. Daly, as I get older, I hear what I want to hear. And I don't hear what I don't want to hear.
Some things just don't make any sense.
You know.
You just leave them there.
Yeah, I just hear certain things and miss certain things. It's 10:26. And the what's keeping me back from my food is all you. And the closing statement. Tulu, you want to go first?
Well, I'm going to close by saying good evening to my sister Sylvia, my niece Helena. Wish you all the best for the Christmas season. And all those people who join us on a regular basis for this program. Enjoy yourself for Christmas. Put Christ in the center of it. And looking forward to see you as we continue doing these programs for the rest of this year and into 2024.
We got one more show for the year. Today is showing on the 21st. The 28th is a Thursday and we just work on a Thursday night. Dr. Daly?
Well, that's why I remind persons that we'll be off until January.
You mean on target?
On target.
Okay.
We'll come back on January 7th, I believe. And we'll start afresh. New ideas, new topics, everything. But let me use this opportunity to thank all those who have supported us, whether on Tell Me On Target for the last year. It's been a rough year for everybody concerned. But we were here. We are always here for you. All right? The outcomes are not predicted, but we try to bring the truth to the people at every turn. But let me use this time also to say to people, listen, our job is to bring the facts to you. Our job is to disaggregate all the information and let you make a determination what is real and what is fiction. I think we have done a good job of that. All right. It's for you now to decide what the path you're going to take going forward with 2024. Knowing fully well that 2024 can be a repeat of 2023. A misunderstanding of what this government is trying to do. All right. We have brought to you the issues of the budget more than on one occasion. We have brought you the issues of wastage in this government, of sheer corruption in this government. Those are not indisputable. Everything that we have said, the government has never disputed and said we are lying. All right? And I'm asking you one simple question. If it was not the government, if this was a spouse or a friend or family member, would you accept this level of disinformation? Would you accept this level of, coercion and bad faith and mistrust? Would you accept it? I don't think so. So why is it that we are paying for our government to lead and develop this country, and all we're getting is misinformation, lies, distrust, and all kind of subterfuge, subterfuge, as to say, and nothing of productivity. All right? We really need a serious conversation in this country, what is real and what is not. What is important and what is not. What are priorities and what are not priorities. And as far as I can see, this government has more than enough time, that had since 2013, to make an impact on all our lives. And who can tell me in this country, beside the political, also the political rank and file, who has really made it in this country? We keep suffering losses. We keep going backwards. We are living off of savings. We're living paycheck to paycheck. Every day we inundated, food prices going up, cost of living going to the roof. We need to call it for what it is. And the caller mentioned an E for effort. And I agree with the caller. Not even an F. When we were doing General Cambridge, it was U, ungraded. That's the lowest you can go. That means all your name on the paper. You understand? And I agree with Alan to the point where there are some things happening, but they are so disjointed. It's a knee-jerk reaction. And you can't have a knee-jerk reaction to development. You must have a strategic plan going forward, step by step, inch by inch, and make it work. What we have here are reactions to things happening in the environment. And the government simply, throw some money here and throw some money there, and at the end of it, you get nothing. You get no revenue from the efforts, and therefore taxation is the only issue, the only recourse to raise money. Because, they themselves have to now find 5% to pay in January. They have to find, if they're going to be lucky, the 8% to pay that Dr. Joe has now proposed. And they're going to have to find money to pay for increased supplies and services granted to the government. And so 2024, my friends, I wouldn't want to be you. I wouldn't want to be you. Understand? And I do hope that even all that dark and, gloom and doom, the person recognize the power is in their hands. If you sit back and wait for persons to do anything for you, you'll be disappointed. Try and do something for yourself. Plant a little garden, brown bag your lunch. Try to save some money wherever you can. And, help yourself a bit. Because this government here will not. They have no interest. They have never had an interest. And help yourself. God bless. See you next year on Target. See you next week, Thursday on Tell Me.
Alan?
I would like to thank the gentleman for inviting me here this evening and having me, having a good dialogue. Say good night to everybody who will listen to Tell Me throughout the year, especially the couple of times I came. Also thank the people who joined us, who watch our network, the Real Entertainment Network, and especially the topics throughout the year. Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year when that comes. On a political front, I would like to hear from the Premier the total cost of the geothermal. I tell people, it's good to listen to Patches every now and again. Patches just come with figures, and I saw the IMF say that the total project would be $150 million US. That would give us a total of, well, he said the first million would be $1,000. But essentially, that would be $400 million worth of new debt that we're incurring for the geothermal if the project goes successfully. And it would give us some kind of revenue generation. But I would like to hear more fully. I don't think that it is a project that could go in phases, but I still think that we need to hear. For example, I'm hearing the plant would cost $50 to $60 million. And then they're saying, the transmissions of the lines are easy, but that's another $40-50 million US. So, in order to be realistic, I feel like we need to hear exactly, because I feel that is why the federal government come in. It's $400 million we need to do this, and one thing we know with the Premier is a project, it's going over. We understand that it's going over, so you're going to be closer to 550.
Going over.
Yeah. You're going to be closer to 550 when you look at it. And we can't do 550. There is no possibility for us to do 550. So, I would like to hear more fuller figures, accountability and transparency in 2024. But, good night to everybody.
Those sound good coming from the Premier, accountability and transparency, but does it deliver? Absolutely not. Hear how transparent he is. He painted the outside of the hospital to fool people while they had drilling in the inside, jackhammering and breaking down walls. And they had no idea as to what the floor of the hospital would be. Transparency? It's a criminal enterprise they're dealing with. So maybe they figure that if they're not burying bodies and deaths, that is okay for them. Let me give you a classic. And the $150 million US that the IMF spoke about Under NRP, we were saying $120 million US. What is $30 million US to Mark Brantley? Neither he nor there ain't he money. He ain't care. I will remind you, Nevis will be brokes, but Mark Brantley will not be brokes. Not unless he is caught up in some kind of something and he gets some kind of large award against him so that he has to part with some of his money. But he not going to be brokes. Nevis, we're going to be $1 billion in debt, and you're going to wonder what's happening. And why? Look at what the Premier calls a success in paragraph 15 of his budget. On page 5. Relocated the Charlestown Health Center to new and improved premises where they got to pay rent. He listed that as a success. A success. And the Charlestown Health Center has been moved to St. John's, to new and improved premises. And not a soul has done a lick of work to say that they are going to start designing a health center for Charlestown and the original spot, which is centrally located. Nobody has done a lick of work on that. So you can fully expect that since the Cotton Ground Health Center was relocated years ago, since the Gingerland Health Center was relocated years ago, and both of them are now in borrowed premises, that it is highly likely that the Charlestown Health Center will be up there in the Wards building for years to come. Because, remember, a whole year passed and no work was done on the brains of the hospital. That's why he said that when they had the groundbreaking in 2014, that the new wing is going to be the brains of the hospital. Well, this hospital must be brain dead. We're going to be back with you next week. Until then, we want all of you to be safe. Enjoy Christmas. Make sure that you look for somebody who is less fortunate. Somebody who probably might not have a Christmas meal, and make them feel happy. Look out for your neighbors. Look out for your friends and your family. And I beg you, no shooting. We had one shooting in Nevis today. One murder. Taking us to 31 in the Federation. I'll behave all yourself. Please, be good. Until next week, when the three of us are going to be back, and we hope that we got food this week, but we hope that next week that somebody send us something as well. I like sorrel and I like black cake, but I like my black cake with a lot of rum. See you next week.
You're going to pick up black pudding tomorrow?
And in the last administration, led by the member for number 7, a simple question was asked. Put your signature in support of expanding the geothermal potential on Nevis. A simple question. How old are you? 3? And while the Nevis administration was telling its investors and its partners, geopolitical and otherwise, that we are ready to move forward with geothermal, they said, but wait, your federal government is not saying that. There is no support for what you are saying. You are at odds with each other.
Madam Speaker,